Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Well, my name is Franco Maziero. Welcome to Canal Mais Direito. It's a pleasure to have you right here, right now. And today we'll start our first English Live, receiving here to talk with you and with me, of course, two great names. A great friends that I have here in Brazil from São Paulo, Walter Calza Neto. He is an excellent and fantastic, huge lawyer in digital law here in Brazil, and accepted this my kindly invite to speak with us about blockchain and arbitration. He is an ex-specialist in speaking about blockchain and other technologies. So, Walter, thank you so much for being here with me and for accepting this kind invitation that I made to you. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Franco. It's an honor to be here and join this group to talk a little about blockchains and new technologies and arbitration. I'm very honored to be here, and I want to thank you and all your audience, and thank Luis Miguel too to be here with us. And I think it's gonna be a good talk we have today.
Yes, I'm sure about that. And the other name that I invited here, I met him last year in Madrid, where we shared in a panel with this exactly subject, arbitration and blockchain. And I met him in Madrid as an excellent international arbitration lawyer. And I'm sure that he could bring us too many things and too much experience that he takes around working as arbitration lawyer around the world with, of course, technologies and everything else. So, Luis Miguel, is a great honor to have you here again, met you, speak with you again, and share another panel with you again. You are a fantastic and great lawyer. Thank you too much to stay here with us, to join with us this conversation about arbitration and blockchain. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Franco. Hello, Walter. It's my great pleasure as well to be here. I'm pretty sure that we'll have a very interesting conversation, as Franco said, about blockchain, arbitration, technology more generally. So thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you so much. Walter, actually, you and Luis Miguel, we're going to talk too much about this subject, but I think that is important for who is watching us right now, understand what is blockchain. So could you explain in an easy way what is blockchain?
Okay, I will try. We're talking here about something we used to call new technology, but it's not new. Nick Szabo is the person who invented blockchains, who think about blockchains first, and he already thought about smart contracts. And his idea about smart contracts began in 1998, so it's not new. And the idea about blockchains, it begins in 1994. So we're talking about something that already exists as technology as long for more than 20 years. But with the new technologies used, like new cryptographies and new security systems, it may be useful and practical to do a smart contract using blockchains and other uses for blockchains. But first, what is blockchain? Blockchain is a technology that might be a very secure, because it uses a method called hash. Every information, every contract, every data that is bring to the blockchains, when you bring information, it construct a block. A lot of, if if we had a contract here, and it will be turned into a block. You have several contracts in the same block, and each time you put a block in the blockchain system, it will reproduce the last one, the last block existing, and it has a numerical, a mathematic method to get some validation. It's called hash. It's a sequence of numbers that might make the block cannot be editable. If you change anything in the block, you will necessarily change the hash, and any fraud could be easily knew for anyone who is using the blockchain. So blockchain is a system, is an electronics program that made not editable, not changeable the contracts. When you talk about blockchains, most people think about bitcoins and crypto coins, but it can be used for a lot of others. For a lot of other things, and smart contracts is one of the uses you can have for blockchains. So what is a smart contract? As lawyers, we know what is a contract. A contract is when you write down the negotiation, the agreements that the parties made about something. What is the difference between a conventional contract, an old style contract, and a smart contract? The smart contract, he is written after you arrange the settings of the business you're mediating, you're doing. You write the smart contract in computer code, so it's auto executable. The contract, you program some events, like if one party does something, it should happen another thing, and so you put this in the computer code, and the contract is auto executable. I think this is the great difference. So you have a contract that is you can say it's a computer. It's a computer software. The contract itself. So when the events of the contracts occur, it automatically communicate the parties. I don't know if it's I could make it simple. I don't know if I could.
No, that's nice, because blockchain is, as I said, is a technology that not too much people know what it is, and it could change many things in our way of life, in our way that make contracts, and actually do almost everything in our life. And Luis Miguel, I think that in arbitration we have some things that blockchain could be helpful, as the same that smart contract could be. So could you tell about a little bit for us about the connection between blockchain and arbitration, please?
Sure. Thank you, Franco. And if I may simply add a couple of general ideas to what Walter and you, Franco, have very clearly said. And just to be clear, I am more a fan of blockchain. I am more, let's say, an expert in arbitration, more of a fan in blockchain. To me, going back to the beginning of blockchain is very important, especially to understand. It was very good for me to better understand the technology. And when I say going back in time, I mean to Bitcoin, as Walter was saying precisely. Because blockchain was a technology, and of course Walter and Franco will correct me if I'm wrong, was a technology that was created to to eliminate the problem of the double expenditure of cryptocurrency, right? So basically, you had at the time cryptocurrency, you had the Bitcoin. And the problem that had appeared at the time was we have potential frauds, which means that one person may use one specific Bitcoin here to pay a specific transaction, and someone else can use that same Bitcoin to pay something else as part of a different transaction. And that is clearly wrong because you cannot use the same, as you cannot use in real life the same bill to pay two things that cost, right? If you have a $10, a 10 euro bill, you cannot use it to pay 10 euros for something and then the same bill to use it for something else that also costs 10 euros. You can only use it once. So the same problem happened with Bitcoin. And what Nakamoto said is, let's create a technology which basically serves as a registry, as a ledger, right? And what this will do is that each and every transaction that is made using Bitcoin as payment method will be recorded as a new block in the blockchain. And that way, we will make it impossible to use the same Bitcoin for multiple transactions because each transaction will be recorded as a block in the blockchain. So that's one important to me as part of the background, because that shows the purpose of registry of the technology. It's like a repository of information, and also shows that this is a very safe technology, because as Walter was saying, there is all this process which is built into the technology, which makes sure that each and every block, which is a transaction that is created and inserted into the blockchain, is previously approved following a technical procedure. So this is the second very important thing, the safety of the technology and the anti-fraud that it brings. And one last point in relation to this background is that because you can directly insert into the blockchain the new transactions, the new blocks, what this basically means, and this was one of the purposes behind the creation of this technology, is that you do not need intermediaries to execute transactions. So before, if you are paying something with the money that is in your bank account, in order to make a payment nowadays, when you are buying something from Amazon or from you name it, you pay with your online account, which means that there is an intermediary, which is the bank, which participates in the transaction and collects a fee for that participation, be it a specific fee or a monthly fee or an annual fee because you have the account, but it costs. So basically, what blockchain allows people to do is to transact directly with digital money, which is decentralized because it does not depend on a bank, but rather on the fact that there is a market for that currency, and therefore it has a value. So these are three general comments. I don't know if Walter, Franco, you want to add anything. Otherwise, I can speak about arbitration, but please feel free.
Okay, just about blockchain and this third part of trust that you just told, it's very, very important. Understand that point that you said, because actually when we use blockchain, we don't want this third part, like a bank, and here in Brazil, notary stores. I don't know the name if it's correct, but here in Brazil, Luis Miguel, we have a kind of problem because these third parts are using blockchain to keep doing the same thing, but with the security that blockchain gives. So I think that the first intention of blockchain is changing here in Brazil. And the first option right here, right now, is not too much give this third party freedom, but give more safety for the users of save information. Do you agree with me, Walter?
Yeah. They created here in Brazil something called e-notario. That is a platform that all the notarios are using. Their argument is that when you don't have intermediaries, you don't have enough safety because the notarios they have not just to authenticate a document. They have to see if the parties have capacity to do this business. They say they need to identify the parties. They need to have the tax payments about that transaction. And they say that the blockchain, the use of the blockchain for the contracts or for the documents, they just say that it's a new tool, but it can't be used alone without the confirmation or the authentication of a notarial. That's their vision here. I think it can be a little better than what it were in the past because you don't have to go to the notarial office, and you don't have to go to other state and to other city. But I think it's disrupting the meaning of the blockchain, that is decentralized. We are still making centralized system using a decentralized tool. That was what I think about what's happening today here in Brazil.
Yes, it's a kind of different that we see in another countries, in another place. I don't know. In France, you don't have notary, do you, or Luis?
You do have the notary public, which is as in Brazil is it's the person that certifies basically the capacity of the parties, the fact that the money, for instance, that you are using to pay is legal money. But as Walter and you, Franco, were saying, I think blockchain provides it can improve and reduce transaction costs by a lot. For instance, of course, the public notary plays a very important role, that is for sure. But to begin with, first, if you were to use blockchain, to begin with, you can start by having an electronic database with all the information. And this applies to basically all of the, not only transactions, but every document that goes through a notary, un acta de nacimiento, a birth certificate, a death certificate, you name it, the certificate. Nowadays, the notary has that document in its office or in a deposit or something. With blockchain, you can do first, everything go electronic. You can do secondly, everything to be accessible by those which you want to be able to access the document. Third, because of the way the technology is built, it is very safe. So any document that is inside this technology can be assumed to be valid and accurate. And fourth, even though the notary public provides a very important service, it is up to the consumers, to us, to determine in which case we want to go to the notary public to have a transaction certified because the amount of money involved in the transaction is very important. And in which cases you are willing to take a little bit of risk, assuming there would be some risk by not going to the notary public. It is up to you to choose. I don't want to go there, and I want to do a direct transaction. And yes, I face the risk and I acknowledge the risk of my counterparty not having more than 18 years old to be able to contract. But there is a very theoretical risk which could happen, but in any case, which you may be willing to assume. So, the way I see the blockchain technology, and because I feel that it reduces transaction costs and that it provides many more options to people, I assimilated very much to what happened with Uber and with Airbnb, which basically came into our reality to totally transform the way we do things. We do not have to go anymore to hotels which charge certain fees. We can go if we want, but now we have the alternative to go somewhere else, to book online. It's about having more choices for people, which is basically what reduces costs and make things more accessible to everyone.
I normally used to compare blockchain with what the internet transformation in our lives, because the blockchain will make too much transformations as internet made for us some years ago, for communication, for send paper and everything else, and blockchain could give us this kind of transformation. If Walter don't have anything else about this subject, I want to listen, Luis Miguel, about the connection between arbitration and blockchain.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sure.
let's.
No, please, Walter, go ahead.
No, I just said, just let's hear Luis Miguel.
Okay, well, thank you very much. To relate blockchain to arbitration, to me, the concept of a smart contracts is a very important concept. Because, and you will understand more as I go explaining my ideas, I see blockchain to have two potential uses in arbitration. A use which is more related to preventing the emergence of disputes, and a second use which already assumes that there is a dispute that has emerged, and then you see how to use the technology as part, let's say, of your arbitration procedure. So let me explain each of these separately. So in relation to the preventive function of preventing the emergence of disputes, this is where smart contracts to me come and are very important, because as Walter was explaining, basically smart contracts, what they are contracts where two people or more, of course, decide to transact. Let's say someone hires someone to design a web, someone wants to buy insurance for in case a flight is delayed or a flight is canceled, someone wants to hire someone to build a patent, whatever. So basically, what you do in the smart contracts, as Walter explained, is you turn your agreement into codes and you insert these codes into the blockchain. And what you can have are two sets of situations here. So there will be some cases. Let's put the example of the insurance. Let's assume that I go and I buy insurance in case my flight is delayed or canceled. We register this agreement into the blockchain and we create a new block. And the blockchain, we assume, will be connected to other programs, what we call oracles, if I am not mistaken, which basically would feed relevant information to the blockchain. So for instance, if my flight was from Paris to Prague and the blockchain is connected to the database or the program that provides information in relation to flights in Europe, what will happen is that that oracle will tell the blockchain whether my flight was delayed or not, or was canceled or not. And if my flight was indeed delayed or canceled, what will happen is that the condition that was set to activate my right to receive a payment will be materialized. And so the blockchain will, and this is where the escrow functionality of the blockchain comes, the blockchain will be able to transfer the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, the ETH, whatever type of currency it uses, and will transfer it to me as compensation for the fact that the event insured has materialized. So there are these type of circumstances where basically you avoid the conflict and you reduce transaction costs. Because as Walter was saying, the contract is self-enforceable. Once the condition is met, then I receive payment. So whether the insurance company wants to pay me or not, it is not anymore a problem because I will receive automatically the money. So there you have one set of potential disputes that you avoid. And also, there may be other contracts where it is not as automated as this, but you still can avoid some problems. For instance, I was mentioning the case where you go and hire someone to build a website for you. And let's say that the person, so you insert your contract into the blockchain and you say, so once the design is completed, I have to pay. But of course, there will not be an oracle saying to the blockchain that the condition was met or not, because really the condition depends on whether I am satisfied with the design of the website or not. So in that regard, it is not as automated as the case of the insurance, but once I insert the input and say, yes, I am satisfied with the service, the contract executes itself and the money goes to the person that built the design of the web. Now, you can say, well, what if that person does not want to give the okay and simply says it dislikes the web design? You can have a dispute. And so we will speak later about Kleros, perhaps, and other online dispute systems. But what would happen in this case, and assuming again that the person that pay for the service, put the money into the blockchain, and is using the escrow function of the blockchain, what will happen at the end of the day is once the arbitrators render a decision and say, look, I do consider that the web was designed as agreed, even if I, the beneficiary of the service, disagree, then that will give an instruction to the blockchain, and the money that is kept in the escrow facility of the blockchain will go to the person that built the web. So in one case or the other, in the more automated cases or in the cases where you need to provide an input, at the end of the day, using blockchain with the escrow functionality it has, does provide some security and does prevent the emergence of certain disputes. So that is one very important potential use to prevent disputes in arbitration. So before I turn to the second use, I don't know if you, Walter or Franco, want to comment on anything of what I said.
For me, that's okay. Just if you, Walter,
Yeah.
want to say something else.
No, it's okay. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, me too. Please keep doing that.
And so, well, that's the function in relation to the prevention. And then the second scenario is, well, let's assume we have a dispute. We could not prevent the dispute. So we have an arbitration dispute. So what happens? And so in arbitration, there are many features or things that you have to do throughout the arbitration that can be facilitated by blockchain, for instance. And this in this realm, to me, the most important is the function of blockchain as a database, a worldwide accessible database, a big repository of information. For instance, one of the first things that you need to do in an arbitration proceeding, and one of the decisions that is considered the most important in the arbitration, is the selection of your arbitrator. Normally, an arbitration tribunal is composed of 3 members, one appointed by each party of the dispute. Then you have 2, and then the president of the tribunal, who is appointed by the co-arbitrators, or if they do not agree, by the arbitral institution that administers the proceeding. And so the decision of the parties of appointing the arbitrator is important. And the big question is, who do I appoint? And of course, once you appoint your arbitrator, you want to appoint someone that you think will agree with your case, and that you think will end up being very impartial and independent, of course, but that you think will agree with. And to make an informed decision, as the more you can know about the potential arbitrators, the better you will be to make a choice, right? And so what blockchain could do is, if we were to input into the blockchain, again, in the function as a registry or database, all of the relevant information about arbitrators, about their decisions on jurisdictional issues, on merits issues, about when they were challenged and dismissed from the case or were not, when the awards they rendered were annulled and when they were enforced. If all this information were to be in the blockchain, and considering the fact that the blockchain can be accessible to everyone from everywhere, what you would be doing is basically providing access to everyone to information that can be very useful to choose their arbitrators. And this is very important because nowadays, only quite a few people know about this information. Not everyone knows who are the good arbitrators for what topics. That information is all dispersed, and it is held by those that are more reputed and experienced in the domain. So when you have a big law firm fighting against a small law firm, you may not have a balance in the amount of information that each law firm has when making the appointment of the arbitrator. So by providing this information to everyone at low cost, if you decide to charge to access this information, you are basically leveling the playing field up among the parties. You can also, of course, then you can connect this blockchain to programs, and you can make with this information as many things as you want. You can come out with statistics. You can come out with probabilities as to what is the likelihood, the percentage of likelihood that this arbitrator will rule in your favor in your case, in your particular case. I mean, you can come up with basically as many things as you want. There are many functionalities. I just want to mention two. That is one that I consider very important. And the other one, which to me is very important, is the fact that, especially, you wanna say something, Franco?
Sorry. Yes. Hear. Yes, I want actually about this point that you just said. Research information about arbitrators is something that everybody do when have some arbitration coming or to form a tribunal. But get all this information that, as you said, is very is everywhere is hard and expensive to get out this kind of information. So when you have everything in one place, easy to take and cheaper, you can bring the dispute to a more level place. Is fantastic when we could use this kind of technology for give more justice for that people that trying to use arbitration. And you told us about Claros. More in the end of this conversation, I want to listen a little bit more, because Claros, I'm not sure if I'm right, but everything that I read about it became to have something exactly like that you said. The information is more easy to everyone to get. So for this point, arbitration is something expensive, and maybe when you have everything in one place, you take less hours to do. Of course, if you take less hours, you take less cost. So it's fantastic, this kind of use of blockchain. Just this came off my mind to say, and sorry for interrupt you.
No, please interrupt me when you want. What you just said is very true. The key to make this work is, because nowadays you can access some information if you pay. For instance, as you were saying, You can make research. There are many online platforms where you can pay to have a database where you can access case law, jurisprudence, doctrine, many things. But the information about arbitrators is dispersed. The challenge to make this happen is that this information, because it is dispersed, it is held by specific groups of people. For instance, someone that has this information are arbitration institutions because they have their own list of arbitrators, and because they administer the arbitral proceedings, they have the awards rendered by each of their arbitrators. So all of this assumes that all arbitration institutions are willing to cooperate and provide this information to make it publicly accessible by everyone, to decentralize the information and to make it more democratic, let's say. The question is whether that would ever happen, because that is one of the things that is kind of the know-how of the arbitration institutions. And we do not know whether they will want to share this information or not. But so that is one big place where I can see some benefits. The other is once you have followed the arbitration procedure, and let's say you have an award, which is right in arbitration. And when you are in international arbitration, basically what you do is you may have an arbitration seated here in Paris, where I am, and then you may want to enforce the award in Hong Kong or in Brazil or in Singapore or in Peru. Basically, it will depend on where are the assets, for instance, that you want to collect your award from. And so nowadays, although the arbitration laws have been uniformized little by little in time, so they are more similar, all these laws. Nowadays, there are still differences that remain. And so each time you have to go and enforce an arbitration award, let's say you go to Hong Kong and you have to go and take a look to Hong Kong law, see the requirements, which may be some formal requirements. You can also perhaps have to translate the award so that the Hong Kong judge understands the award. You may have to provide original copies of the award or duly certified copies of the award. So by using blockchain, and again, relying on the fact that the blockchain is a secure database where you can presume that the information is accurate and is not, is not fraudulent at all. What basically you can do is you can tell judges in different jurisdictions, whenever an award is rendered, the judge can access the blockchain and assume that it is accessing an award that is valid, that is accurate, but it is the exact copy of the original. So you do not have to provide certified copies. If you have to provide a translated original, then you can connect the proper technology, the program, to the blockchain so that the blockchain itself translates documents. And so because they will be translated and because they will be presumed to be original, you are in this way skipping a number of steps that you would otherwise have to follow to enforce your award, and which at the end of the day make it more expensive and time consuming to enforce your award, which is at the end of the day what you want to do, and which is the reason why you have followed the whole arbitration proceeding. So basically reducing these transaction costs, these costs in terms of money and time, can be very, very valuable for people in this arbitration field. We do not listen to you, Franco.
Again, sorry. It's just very important to remember that blockchain could do everything that you told us, but with another technology together, like artificial intelligence that could make this translation that you just said, and other things that facilitate the blockchain useful. Is very important. The people understand that blockchain give us the technology to get safe about the information, about how the information keep. I forgot the word. Arquivada, Walter.
File it.
Register.
Yes.
Register. File.
Keep file. So it's really important the people to understand that the blockchain technology necessary is useful if have other kind of technologies working together it. Because you have safety of blockchain, but internet, artificial intelligence, and 5G internet of high speed to make everything happen. Walter, do you wanna say anything else?
Yeah, I think when you use artificial intelligence, you can make easier to know when you're talking about international arbitration, easier to know the law in each country you're dealing with. I think artificial intelligence could make this a lot faster. So you don't need to study profoundly the law of the country. I think artificial intelligence could filter exactly what applies to the dispute you're dealing with. But another thing I want to say, we're saying that blockchain are a safe technology, but as long as we're saying too that it's all the information is available to all the people, and so nowadays we're having all the laws about data protection. In Brazil, we're having for the next year the beginning of a data protection law. In Europe, you have the GDPR for some time. I think so, about 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, the GDPR. And what is my concern here? When you have a technology like blockchains that reproduce each block, to have a not centralized system, you have copies of the blocks along the blockchain. And so you have the same information being reproduced a lot of times. I know it's all with cryptography technology, but I'm very concerned about the privacy. I'm concerned about the protection of the data, and so hackers and other thieves could not have the access to the information you put in the block. That's one of my concerns.
For me, I'm not have this kind of concern, because we have two kind of keys in blockchain technology: one public one and a private one. When we speak about blockchain technology, we could have the safety that in public information are completely safe, because the informations are, as you said, totally cryptography. The big problem is in private key. If someone get this private key, is like encode of access to get all kind of information. Almost many in the few years ago, many crackers are trying to violation the blockchain technology, and couldn't do that. But they could try and could have easily have information if they get the key. So I'm thinking that the most kind of insecurity that we have is who is with this private key. If this private key is everywhere, or someone could get it, so the public information will become to be public. Because when I say public information, it's just a way to speak, but it's not a right public. You could see, but you could not see the information. That's most important. It's like everybody could see that that car is there, but nobody could see inside of the car. And just this kind of private key give to access that. So I think that the big problem is to keep safe this private key. I don't know if you agree with me, Luis or Walter, but I wanna listen you, Luis.
Yes, thank you, Franco. I agree with you. I agree with you on this. So I wanted to make two comments. One in relation to what you just said, and another one in relation to what we were discussing before. And let me start by this last point. You were clarifying, Franco, that we have to understand, and this is very important, that blockchain is a technology, and to do the other many things that I mentioned, such as translations and others, you need to have other programs. And that is very important, and that goes to the point that exactly blockchain is the basic underlying technology. And then you can do with that technology as many things as you want, right? Think about what we have discussed now. We discussed that blockchain emerged as a way to avoid the double expenditure of the same Bitcoin, right? But because of, and we were going to record each and every transaction in a secure way. But see how then smart contracts came up, and we turned to the self-enforceability of contracts. We also saw this registry or ledger function, where we can not only record transactions made using Bitcoin, but also death certificates, birth certificates. So all this goes to the point that the blockchain technology is the basis, the underlying technology, and from there you can build as many things as you want, either be it with machine learning, artificial intelligence, or any other programs you may want to use. So that's one comment, because I felt it was very appropriate what you said. Just wanted to compliment, and then also in relation to the data issue that Walter and you, Franco, were discussing, and also taking one of the questions from the audience. The question is this matter of access of information by all, can it be dangerous to the people, to the parties that are in the dispute? And so the answer is, the good thing is that you can make blockchain accessible by everyone, or you can restrict the access to the information that is in the blockchain. And this is what goes to what Franco and Walter were saying about the key, right? Basically, it can be public or it can be made private. So basically, if you are dealing with sensitive information in a dispute, with information that relates to the know-how of a company to do business, with the Coca-Cola formula, which is being discussed in a dispute, or whatever you want, you can make the documents that relate to that information in the blockchain to be private and only accessible by the parties. And the great advantage that you have, trying to see the other side, is that that information, by being private in the blockchain, would be much more protected than in other databases, because of the special technology that blockchain has, and which basically makes this platform anti-fraud, and you cannot adulterate the documents.
That's perfect, and I agree with you. Do you when I try to, you made your question about it, I give my opinion about it, but I wanna listen you again.
Okay. No. What I'm concerned is that we assume that And nowadays, you don't have computing power to break the blockchain. That's why it's secure. It will take a lot of time to break and to rewrite all the hashes. I think that's one of the things we assumed. But okay, one thing interesting that Luis Miguel said, it's the blockchain is more secure than other systems, because in other systems you have the human being. The human being is manipulating the document. When you have a notarial office, notarial public, you have a lot of people there knowing the documents, assessing the documents. In blockchains, you don't have it. And unless someone break your private key, or you give your private key, or so someone crack the system. So it's really more secure. I'm always thinking for the future, because the computer power, it will grow exponential. So I think in 5, 6, 7 years, anyone could have the computing power needed to break all we're doing nowadays. That's my concern about the privacy. But
Yes.
okay.
No, please keep doing.
No, that's why I made a little provocation about this privacy issue. But that is a provocation. I agree with you.
Yes, but this what we are talking about is very, very important, and is something that the people have scared. Every time that I speak about blockchain, someone asks me, "Oh, Franco, but if there is just one that broke the system, blockchain goes down." Okay, but when we talk about new computers or new capacity of computing, the system of blockchain is so intelligent that uses the nowadays capacity of computing. So in a 5 years or in 6 years, we have a blockchain shared in so many more powerful computers that in 5 or 6 years, I think that will continues keeping on in a safety way, because for broke it we're going to be necessary much more and computer development for broke it. So I think that the intelligence behind of blockchain is so great, it's so wonderful that they made it. I don't know if they think about that, but the consequence of his create many years ago, when they made for Bitcoin, as Luis Miguel perfectly said, or you said perfectly said, we were going to have necessary when a great computer working on that. So actually, I think that always, if always we were going to have something stronger for protected than for break, in my opinion. And this is a wonderful talk that we must have. Sorry, Walter.
No, I said that they will grow together. Always
Yes.
stronger the system protection.
Yes, it's like that I'm seeing. Gordon Moore, I'm not sure if it was Gordon Moore, one of the founders of Intel, wrote in 1965 an article talking about the development of technology, and every year we can double our technology capacity. So in 5 years, probably we're going to have 32 times faster computers than nowadays. And of course, in 5 years, we're going to have 32 times more safety than nowadays. This is the way that I see that. And just to go to the ending, I want to hear Luis Miguel saying about Clarus. Do you mind?
Yes, sure, Walter. Sorry, Franco. Thank you for the topic, because it is an interesting topic indeed. Because people are speaking a lot about the Kleros nowadays. It is, as they would say in French, it is à la mode. It's very everyone is speaking about this, and so for those who do not know much about Kleros, Kleros is basically an online dispute resolution system. So it's basically an institution that can act as someone that administers an arbitration proceeding. And I can speak a little bit about the particularities, but one of them is that Kleros relies on blockchain. So it is one of the first online dispute resolution systems that relies on blockchain, which basically means that the documentation of the cases, this escrow functionality that we were discussing about, all of these is used and taken advantage by players. And so the key feature to me of Kleros is that it makes justice accessible to all. How is this the case? Because nowadays we are seeing the use of blockchain, and I would say mainly for small size or medium size transactions, of course, that use uh, uh, electronic currency, let's say. And so nowadays, if you were to have a dispute with the web designer that I mentioned, let's say you have a contract with them, a regular contract with them, and then you have a problem. Nowadays, if the problem is because the beneficiary of the web design does not want to pay you 200 euros or 1,000 reais, I don't know how much is that, but if they don't want to pay you, basically what you may say is, look, it doesn't make sense for me to go to the judiciary or to go to an arbitration and fight to collect 200 euros or 100 euros. It is not sufficient money for me to go through the whole proceeding and the cost of a lawyer and the cost in terms of time. So there are many disputes that end up not making it to arbitration or to the judiciary because simply the amount of money involved is not sufficiently big. So what Kleros does, assuming that you have a dispute that, let's say, arises out of a smart contract, and you use the escrow functionality, is that if there is a dispute with the web designer, and let's assume the contract is registered in a blockchain, and then the money that the beneficiary of the web has to pay to you is in the escrow functionality of the blockchain. What will happen is that tomorrow, if a dispute arises, you will have all the incentives to go and start the dispute because you can be sure that once that arbitration proceeding is finished and you have an award, you can be sure that the money will come directly to your pocket because it is automated. Whereas nowadays, if for a little amount of money you have to go to an arbitration, first you have to go through the proceeding. That you will also have to do it in Kleros. But then, once you have a decision that says, let's say, Luis Miguel is right and he has the right to be paid 200 euros, then today in real life, then that other person has to voluntarily pay you. Because if they don't want to pay you, then you have to go to the judge and commence and start an enforcement proceeding. In Kleros, relying on blockchain and in the escrow functionality, you can put aside that process of enforcing the award because the money comes automatically to your pocket. So it's faster, it's easier, and you have the warranty that if you win, the money will end up in your account. So, in that sense, I was saying it makes justice accessible to everyone because it creates incentives for people to go and start a dispute when they feel someone has wronged them and they have the right to do something. And then just to finish on this, so Kleros, it's a particular online dispute resolution system. It is not composed, as we say, by arbitrators, but rather by jurors who basically take the decision. There is a system inside Kleros, which creates monetary incentives for these euros to render well-reasoned and correct decisions, reasonable decisions. Um, and I think these are the particularities. You can also, if I am not mistaken, once a decision is rendered, you have an appeal mechanism, so you can basically challenge the decision, which is not usually the case in regular arbitration. So it is a specific particular online dispute resolution system, but it has the great advantage of relying on blockchain, and which in turn creates all these other benefits I just mentioned.
That's perfect. Walter, do you want to say anything?
Oh, I just want to know, anywhere in the world you can use Claros? We can use it on Brazil?
I would have to double check, but I would assume because it is an online platform which basically accepts every type of dispute that you can have. I would assume it is accessible to everyone. The thing is that this is becoming, it's little known now, and also there are the restrictions of the fact that you have to use cryptocurrency to be able to take advantage of the escrow functionality. But the more cryptocurrency becomes used by people worldwide, the more this type of platforms or dispute systems will be used, I think.
Okay. So we got 1 hour of live. Thank you so much. Walter, I want to thank you so much for your participation here. I want that you say your last words and thank you too much to stay here with us, Walter.
Okay. Franco, it's always a pleasure to be with you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I want to thank Luis Miguel for all the information he brought for us in a clear form, easily to understand. That's the problem. We have to have clear information. You brought a clear information, easy understanding information. Thank you very much, Luis. I want to thank all the audience, everyone that is watching us, and say it was a very pleasure moment and instructive moment to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Walter. Luis Miguel, the same, your last words here. And thank you too much for this conversation with me and Walter. It was a pleasure for me. Listen, Walter and you.
Thank you very much, Franco, the audience, Walter, of course. To me, it was also a very enlightening and nice conversation. I think these are precisely the type of conversations that we need to have. We are all lawyers, but our specializations are in different domains. So I think that it is very important to have initiatives like this one, Franco, where you bring together people who know a little bit about different things, because this is the way we can make this technology better known by people, and also to see its real and practical application in real life. So I have learned also a lot. I know much less than what I appear to know. It's simply that I watch many things and repeat. But I enjoyed very much this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Walter, Luis Miguel, and everyone that is watching us. If you are not subscribed yet in here in this channel, please make it. Have a subscription button above Luis Miguel, and thank you so much. See you soon. And if you like this kind of conversation, I want to make this little advertisement about the book that I organized with Luis Miguel Vellarde participation, and he made a fantastic article about blockchain and arbitration. And there is in this book there is many others great articles. And I want to invite everyone for that international congress, Walter, that we are organizing for between 11 and 13 of August. That we have the pleasure to receive. We're going to have the pleasure to receive authors from almost all continents. We have confirmed people from Russia, Singapore, Japan, Australia, Switzerland, Germany,
Portugal,
United States, Brazil, France, Spain. So we're going to be a great meeting with this wonderful lawyers, right?
Yeah, from all over the world.
Okay, so see you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Until the next.